I'm talking about David Coe, the CEO of Calm, the leading app for meditation and mindfulness.
David has now written a book about self-care called Recharge, boosting your mental battery one conversation at a time.
I'm David Coe, CEO of Calm, son of Korean immigrants, a proud father, and author of the #1 best-selling book, Recharge. Recharge is where leaders and changemakers share the tools, habits, and mindsets they rely on to stay grounded, energized, and effective. Let's recognize, reflect, and recharge together. Our guest today is a true legend, an Emmy-winning actress, Broadway's original Dreamgirl, and star of Abbott Elementary. Let's recharge with Sheryl Lee Ralph. All right, it is so great to have the Honorable Sheryl Lee Ralph here with us today on Recharge. Sheryl, I hope I got that title correct.
How about that? You got it perfectly. The Honorable Sheryl Lee Ralph, Order of Jamaica.
And one of just a few, I was told, to be distinguished with that. What an
That's right.
amazing title to be given.
Thank you. It's sort of like being dame or lady. Yes, honorable. I like that.
I'm a big fan of honorable as well. I first wanted to give you a shout out for your incredible calm sleep story.
Thank you.
I was listening to it last night, Gallery of Dreams.
Yes.
I made it about 10 minutes in and it did what it needed to do. And I fell asleep and I fell asleep soundly. And I just wanted to know, do people ever come up to you and say, oh, hey, I heard you on Calm?
Yes, they do. And I was in an elevator last week and someone said, I heard your calm story and you put me right to sleep. I was like, wow, there you go. We did the job.
My children are always asking me, Dad, please do not do a calm sleep story. It will not make anyone go to sleep.
That's a good idea. We should do one for children. Yes, to put the children to sleep, age appropriate. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes, I'll do it all about math, and hopefully they will go to sleep. Well, I also wanted to commend you on your January cover of People magazine. I loved that title.
Thank
I'm
you.
proof the best is yet to come.
That's right.
How did you feel about that? And is it always a pinch me moment? I know you've been on so many different covers of things. And so every time you're on another one, is it like, oh yes, I'm on another one? Or is it, just a pinch me type of moment?
It's always a pinch me moment. It's always a moment of gratitude. It is always another time to say, thank you for the flowers that are blooming in my garden and what God has given me life to see happen to me. It's just been outstanding. And I'm so grateful because I'm in an industry where it's not always kind, it's not always wonderful, but when it becomes that and you experience it, you have to be grateful and thankful. And I am.
Oh, that is so lovely. I often say in business, as you continue to achieve, or if you're privileged enough to have success in this competitive field, that humility is one of the hardest things. And what you just said is just the embodiment of just staying humble. How do you stay and continue to stay humble, like you just said?
Wow. All I'm ever doing is actually just being myself. I'm just being me. I come from a background, I'm an immigrant's child, and my immigrant mother from Jamaica would say, good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better and your better best. So I'm always walking on a path to be better, to achieve my best, especially my best self. So I think that's what it is for me.
That's amazing. I wish my mom had something like that. I think in Korean it was more translated to eat your vegetables. But
No, I'm sure Alma had more to offer than that. Trust me.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Mhm.
I also want to congratulate you on your star, on your Hollywood Walk of Fame star. How do you feel when you first found out? And how was that moment?
First of all, it doesn't happen to everybody. Your name has to be put forward. Somebody has to fill out paperwork, tell people why is this person worthy. And then once you're chosen, somebody has to pay for it. You know, it's not free, and I'm so thankful that ABC and Warner Brothers chose to put my name forward and then followed up by choosing to pay for it. So once
Wow.
again, I'm very, very thankful and very grateful because sometimes, we live in a world where people have forgotten manners, people have forgotten how to be kind, people are forgetting that it's really important to be nice to each other, and the important of it all is the nicer you are to yourself is the better you can be to everybody else. So I thank them for pouring into me at my best self.
Wow. I had no idea that someone else had to pay for it and do all that, put that forward. So
Yeah, it's
amazing.
like that.
Well, I'd love to start our conversation talking about growing up, Cheryl. So you just talked about your mom,
Uh-huh.
and like me, we're a child of immigrants,
Uh-huh.
and so that can be both a blessing and sometimes a challenge.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, at one point, you were going to be a doctor,
Oh,
and then you
absolutely.
switch course. Can you just talk about that, and what and how was that perceived with the fam when you decided to switch course?
It's interesting for me because I think about it often nowadays. My mom, an immigrant from Jamaica, my dad, an African American, a lifelong educator and learner. And my mother said, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And if you can't do that, then marry one. Ah, and all through the path of my education, I knew I was not getting married before I achieved for myself some level of success. And as much as my mother wanted the doctor or the lawyer, there was my father who clearly stated, you might have come into this world with your mother, but you'll probably leave this world by yourself. So you
Mm.
better live a life that makes you happy.
Oh,
Yes. And that just armed me for being able to go out there. One, tell my mother no. Whoa. Huh, tell my mother no. But I was able to do it and stand up for myself because my father said, live your best life.
as a father of 2 daughters, those are words I'm gonna take from my and take and actually talk to them about. That is so great. You sometimes forget that. Uh, I remember my parents too wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, and
The immigrant dream.
it's the dream, right? Every parent's like doctor, lawyer, and then but you have to remember to follow your dream.
Absolutely.
Your parents played such a pivotal role, as you can see in your life, and they continuously challenged you. And those are lessons that you just talked about that have stayed with you. Are there other things they talked about that have stayed with you, and advice you've given others and to your own kid along the way?
I really have to say, one of the greatest gifts that my parents gave me is the gift of a good education. Having graduated from Rutgers University, the things that I learned in pursuing my degree, it's such a gift, and I don't take it lightly because so many young people, they're challenged by the opportunity to have a master's, to have a bachelor, to get past high school. And for my parents to give me that gift, it was something that I had to pay forward and give to my children as well. Education is an incredible leveler in life. And very often people, you hear this thing about, well, you don't need college. Well, maybe everybody doesn't need college, but everybody needs to continue to learn.
Ah, so well said.
Thank you. Read
Yes.
some books, write some books, teach some lessons, but education, it's just paramount, especially now where we see what happens when people don't have or get enough knowledge, education in order to empower themselves to make the best decisions.
I am so plus one on that. And I often even talk about as in work, it's like it's always about continuous learning.
That's right.
So whether or not you're young and you're learning, or whether or not as we get older, we're always learning and continuing to learn to push ourselves. And so I just love what you just said there about education.
Thank you.
I just want to shift now to your career. You've intersected with so many icons and have had a number of mentors along the way. And now you are also a mentor to many.
Mhm.
I was just wondering about some of the advice that some of your mentors have given, and what are some of the advice that you give to others as a mentor?
I remember that I was chosen as one of the top 10 college women in America by Glamour magazine. And with everything else that took place around it, you were given the opportunity to meet a woman who was succeeding in your path, in what it is you wanted to do in your career life. And
Yes.
I chose at that time Virginia Capers because Virginia Capers had just won the Tony for her role in the musical Raisin, which is the musical adaptation of the play Lorraine Hansberry's Raisin in the Sun. And I met Virginia Capers, who really became an aunt to me, a sincere mentor, someone who actually cared about me making it. And it would have been no surprise to her to see me where I am now, doing what it is I'm doing. She saw it. She talked to me about it, being prepared, being ready to meet the moment, expanding yourself as an artist. Don't just speak one language, speak more and learn how to sing in three. But one of the greatest things she ever said to me was, "Be as kind as you can to as many people as you can for as long as you can, because the same ass you kick today, you might have to kiss tomorrow." Yes. Mhm. That's
Oh,
why anybody who brings me coffee or is tending to me on a set somewhere, I'm like, I always remember, be good to that person because before you turn around, they'll be running the network, running the studio, running the production company, and they will remember how you made them feel.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's an important one in business too. It's about never burning any bridges, right?
that's
It's
right.
like you never know.
That's right,
Uh,
because life will change. And sometimes you're gonna have to go back to every place you've been. Yeah.
I love that. So is that part of your narrative and your advice that you give to others as well?
Yes, but I add to it, be as kind as you can to yourself. The better you are to yourself, the better you will be able to be to other people. It is very simple. When you see some people like loners in basements and stuff like that, and they feel invisible, they feel like they're not being seen. I mean, it is the most amazing thing that you have to pay attention to other people. And even in their sadness, there is something, sometimes people have broken wings, and sometimes you have to help them heal so that they can fly too.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of broken wings, I think in your field, and especially obviously in business as well, folks deal with a lot of rejection, and that's just part of the business. What advice do you give to people who struggle with that rejection? And how might they handle that?
For me, I'm in the entertainment industry. As an actor, as a performer, there's one word you hear repeatedly, and that's no. No, 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 no. Even no, 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 no. They will sing it to you. No. But I look at it like a no today can very easily be a yes tomorrow. but you've got to be able to hang in there and keep it moving for you. I think about the times that I thought about stopping. If I had stopped in my journey, I would never be where I am now. Sometimes you have to make the decision to carry on, make the decision to move forward. I've seen children. Okay, I was somewhere in Africa, somewhere, and this young man asked me to pay for his education. And I said, you know what? You get yourself to America and I'll buy your books. I want you to know I paid for some books. Now,
Mm.
how he got from there to here, I do not know, but you've got to want it. You've got to want it, and you're the one that makes it happen for you. And people are very often afraid to ask for the help that they need. Empty mouths, closed mouths don't get fed,
Mm.
and you're going to stay hungry. But you got to stay hungry and put that hunger into action, or else it doesn't happen. And you got to listen. You know, we're hearing all of these dog whistles that are going out there right now. You have got to pay attention because the signs and the signals are out there. Use your discernment, figure out what is for you. Put the BS behind you. Go for the knowledge, go for the truth. Learn how to empower yourself. Learn how to speak victory over your stress, over your test. It's in your mind. There's a sign and a line. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. It is the truth because it's such a powerful instrument, but you got to get in it to win it.
Ugh, you have it's a masterclass right now in terms of words of wisdom and positivity and just your thought thinking here. Have you always been this positive as in life and as a child, or did this start at a certain age? Uh, how I mean, just kind of because some people kind of come to me, especially in business, and say, "Hey, I've learned this over my life, and I went from negativity to positivity." Have you always been this positive?
I think the foundation was laid for me by my parents.
Mm.
You know, my parents were fierce advocates for me. My parents were very vocal about what was expected of me. I'm also the first child. And when you're the first child, there are certain responsibilities put upon you that you have to live up to them. Sometimes you're strong enough to do it. Sometimes you're not, and you got to lean on the second born. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a sibling to help you, you know, move forward, but you got to find the help where it is. For me, I'm a child of the 60s. And as a child of the 60s, I saw terrible things take
Yeah.
place in the world, horrible things, the way they would just literally try to assassinate and kill the dream of the people, especially Black people, and how I saw children my age suffer when they were literally just trying to fight for their rights, the right to vote, the right to be seen as a whole human being, the right to not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character and who they were. And some of them still are. And it was very difficult. But I was one of those that I was a child of integration. I remember being the only little Black child in that school that I took a test for and passed and got into that class because I deserved to be in a better school and my parents could afford it for me to
Yeah.
be in the better school, and how terribly I was treated. But I learned from all of that. You know, what's that song? Hate on me, haters, hate on me, haters. Sometimes your A haters help you build the strongest backbone because
Mm.
sometimes they say things to you that you know are possible. And because you know, because you've seen the mountaintop, you know, I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to get there to see what's up there. Plus, my mind has always been stayed on freedom. My mind has always been stayed on something better because I knew it was possible. I knew it.
I love it. And wow, that is super powerful. And you know, it it kind of lathers into my next question here. In your book,
Oh, aren't you wonderful? Available now on Amazon.com or Wordy.
I love this cover. Can
Thank
you just
you.
talk to us a little bit about and why you chose this cover?
Because when I saw that picture, I said it feels like me. I have a thing. I'm usually leaning like this, and that one was both hands and looking up and knowing better must come, better will come, better is ahead of me. Yeah, and I just love that picture. Plus, I
I
did the makeup myself, and I thought it's pretty good.
I would agree. I would agree.
Thank
And in
you.
your book, you use two words often around legacy and representation.
Yes.
Why are those two words so important to you?
Representation, representation, representation. As in, first off, what do you represent? When people look at you, what are they going to see? What are they going to feel? What are they going to feel is possible? Representation. For me, I was very young, and my grandmother said to me, Sheryl Lee Ralph, when you walk into the room, the whole race comes with you. Representation. Now, that's a heavy burden to bear, but it meant and it led me into a thought process that whatever it is I do, I don't want to embarrass my people, my family, my church. I didn't want to embarrass the children I knew I would have in the future. I
Mm,
didn't want other young artists to feel that they had to take the least, they had to take the scraps at the table. I wanted to empower them to know if it's not the table for you, build your own table. Get your own room. Better is possible for you, but you've got to be the one to do it. Representation. Then, as an artist, it's who represents you. I've been so scrappy in my fight to stay relevant. Sometimes I've had to represent myself. But
uh,
but in this whole arena now, who represents you? Who fights for you? Who's that agent, that manager, that rep that is going to wake up in the morning and say, "How do I move the needle forward for Sheryl Lee?" Who represents you? Also, what do you represent? All of that is so important to me.
I love that. I think it's so important to many. Um, as we shift the conversation to mental health and stay on your book, um, you often mention balance in the book.
Oh, God.
And, what does balance mean to you?
Balance is everything. It means overindulgence. It's like life is like this. Yeah, you can go like this sometimes, but don't go like that.
Right.
Don't bottom yourself out. Don't take things to the extreme. Drinking too much, not only does it mess up your insides, but it messes up your outsides as well. If you drink and you're pregnant, you mess up the brains of your child. That is very real. Doing drugs, when you do too many drugs, when you overindulge in drugs, it does alter your mind at times. It definitely alters your insides. I mean, anything that makes you poop too much is terrible. Oh my God. Why would you do that to yourself? You know, Staying in a dark place in your mind and choosing to keep yourself in that place. Don't do that to yourself. I was looking at this young woman who her foot was minorly, in my mind, minorly deformed because I have the same thing on my foot, but the girl had never had a pedicure. She had a sister-in-law for 10 years who had never seen her feet. And I was like, so wait a minute. You have not taken your socks off to walk in the sand, to feel the sand between your toes. You have not put a thong just to thank God that you got 2 feet that you can walk on. She couldn't do that for herself. Sometimes people stay in the dark place, and it's like they say in The Wizard of Oz, come out of the dark, come out of the dark, step into the light, step into the light. The
Oh,
doors are open. Open the doors. Open the doors of your mind to better. Now, sometimes I can talk about it like this, but sometimes people need help. They need medication. They need to get meds to help them balance out. If you need medication, get the help that you deserve and take your medication the way they prescribe it to you. There is no shame in taking your medication or getting the help that you need and deserve. If you need therapy, therapy, do not feel ashamed about therapy. It is
Oh,
the most amazing person that knows they need help and seeks the help to get themselves right.
I love that. I have a new thing for us at Com. It could be Sheryl Lee Ralph. Open the door for yourself, open the door for others. And we can create something around that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Open the doors.
I love that. As we are here in Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes.
I would love your thoughts about stigma. Stigma, for us all, and stigma especially within the Black community.
It's so interesting because in the Black community, you would hear things like, oh no, they just like that, and they lock that person in the back room, or that person stays up in the attic and you never see them. I'm very happy now that we are opening the doors and people are coming out and sharing their journey. My son was involved in a terrible car accident, hit his head. His whole personality changed. My polite child became rude, became loud. And everybody said, oh, it's the drinking. Oh, it's the drugs. We did not stop getting the tests and the help he needed. CT scan showed nothing. No, he's fine. He just needs rehab. Got another doctor who worked with athletes, and they did a much deeper scan on his brain. The doctor came back and said the young man has been bleeding on his frontal lobe.
Ugh.
That would change anybody. He said, I don't care if he drinks. I don't care if he smoked weed. I don't care. He's bleeding on his brain and he needs help now.
Ugh.
Mental illness can show up in many different ways and times, and each one of them needs a different procedure, a different process. But we must find out when good people just flip and turn into something else, something's going on that needs attention. But the hard part when we talk about stigma is, see, I'm wearing a cast because my arm is jacked up. People can see something's wrong. When it's going on in your head, they can't see that your head is literally in need of help or your brain is just a little bit broken. They can't see that. And then you get confused. You don't know the way out because your brain is sending all these crazy signals. Stigma has got to go by the wayside. We have got to talk about mental illness, talk about how to get to mental wellness, and we have to come up with plans about how we help people who are struggling mentally because it is not right to have them on the street or practicing recidivism so that they get their health care in prison, in jail. Who are we that let that be okay?
I often say that mental health is probably the most approachable it's ever been here in society, but we still have a long way to go.
A long way to go. You can look at, it's so interesting with art and entertainment. You can look at films over the years, and we have struggled with how to cope with mental illness. Well, I remember there was this movie where they used to make fools of them, locking them up. All the different levels of mental illness. It's not just one thing. It is so many things. And we've hidden it for far too long. We've closed the chapters on people who probably would have had more life to live well had they gotten the help they needed and deserved.
Mm. Yeah, on a personal note, I had my own issues around mental health when I was younger. I didn't quite understand when I would get sweaty palms or tightness in the chest. And my parents would my mom has given me great advice, like we were saying earlier over the years, but she's also given me some advice that wasn't so good. And it was really around how to handle that. And they were really panic attacks that I was having over testing. And, part of it was like, hey, you could just power through it. But the reality was I needed that language so we could talk about it.
That's right.
Um, and with my own kids today, we talk about mental health, but I'd love to bring more of that to work as well, because part of the book I ended up writing around Recharge was trying to bring that language around mental health to the workplace, which I think is still a little bit, not talked about as enough.
Oh, my son, in dealing with, his emotions, post that traumatic time, when George Floyd was killed, and young people took to the streets, and he and his friends, they were so angry. And one day my son came to me and he said, Mom, if we do not heal from this, we won't be good to anybody.
Mm.
And his friends, my daughter, my niece, they all came together and they started leading protesters in breathing, in the breath work, in yoga, and they would come together, for the protests. Then they started coming together in the park. Every Sunday you would see them and they would pass the mic to share their feelings. 4 years later, once a month, young people of every color, mostly black and brown, come together to exercise, breathe, do yoga. And they created the Walk Good Yard, Walk Good LA, where they have a space for people to come in, express themselves, put down their burdens, especially young men of color, to talk their way through their panic, through their angst, through their feelings of being unseen or unloved or being attacked. So I see that and I say that each one of us has something we can do to address this issue. And you writing that book and moving it forward, talking to your daughters about how to relax and lean in to their better self, how to breathe, how to talk to people instead of hitting, striking, shooting, cutting them or yourself.
Yeah, I would tell you that, and thank you for bringing up the physical part, because mental health is not just about what's in between our ears.
Mm.
It's also about physical. And it's been shown in healthcare that if you have mental health issues, it will lead to physical health issues. If
Right.
you have physical health issues, it will lead to mental health issues. So often they're treated separately, but we
Yes,
now know they're tightly interlinked. And
that's
so
right.
those initiatives that you were talking about, walking together, breathing together, yoga, it's so important. Thank you for calling that out.
Yes.
Um, so giving back is clearly a huge part of your life. And it's deeply tied to mental wellness and a sense of purpose. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Diva Foundation?
I founded the Diva Foundation, divinely inspired, victoriously alive, awesome, well, audacious. If it was Sunday, we would be anointed. I found that as a young woman, I was part of the original company of Dreamgirls on Broadway, and that was the best and the worst time in my whole life. And the best, of course, was what happened while we were on Broadway. But the worst was also what happened when we were on Broadway and my friends just started dying of this mysterious disease that had no name. And it was horrible how people found such comfort in calling them out for what they were and for what they were suffering with, which we now know as AIDS, HIV and AIDS. And I wanted to figure out a way to combat this, break the silence, break the stigma, acknowledge that they no matter what you thought about gay people, they were good people. They were kind people. They were somebody's children. And
Yes.
how do we address this as human beings, especially when America stood up and said, I don't care, we hate you and you shouldn't be here. These were horrible times to see this. And it took me all the way back to being a child and what I saw in the 60s. Now, here it was the 80s. Whatever happened to do unto others is you would have them do unto you. But no, you're going to do unto them first. It was terrible. And so out of that came the Diva Foundation. And now we continue to do the good work to strive for racial equality, equity in life, and erasing the stigma around all of these life-threatening diseases, of which racism is also a part of it.
Thank you. And thank you for that foundation.
Thank you.
And we should all be a part of that foundation and support your foundation going forward on such an important initiative.
Thank you.
It would be remiss if I didn't talk about your Emmy win. When you look back, and I'll ask you just one question around this, because I've seen, obviously everyone has seen that special moment in time. You know, when you think about that moment, and let's say it's many years from now,
Yeah.
what's that one thing that you would want people to take away from that moment and that special moment that you had at the Emmys?
It is not over until you and God or goddess decide it is over and done. If you still have a dream in your heart, go for it. I just finished doing a show earlier, and the woman came up to me and said, my mother heard you. She's retired at 73 and she's now in med school. Hey, it's not over. Follow your dreams
Love that.
and don't give up on you. Don't give up on you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I love that. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I want to shift the conversation again to the strength of maturity.
Yes.
And, you know, today there's obviously so much emphasis, as there should be, on the youth.
Mhm.
And we often overlook the power of maturity.
Mhm.
Do you see that in your industry?
Oh God, yes. Absolutely. That's why you haven't seen a rom-com with somebody over 40. You certainly haven't seen one with someone over 50, as if just because you age, you become loveless or you're not interested in love. I mean, let's think about that. It's taken all of these years for us to have women in lead roles in shows. Come on, it's just been crazy. It's taken years for the industry to accept the fact that the image of people of color, Black people, it is many different things. It is not just a shiftless gangster or a prostitute. It's
Mm.
taken so much to refocus these lenses. And now I say, youth is beautiful. Youth is wonderful. Aging is wonderful as well. And sometimes with someone who has aged well comes wisdom. And wisdom is not to be treated like trash. It is to be held up and respected. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so, what advice, and I know we could pull from some of the things that you talked about earlier, would you give people who are after 50, for example?
Live your life. Live your life. Don't give up. There's love out there for you. There are more travel and journeys out there for you. But one of the things you have got to do for yourself is take care of yourself. You've got to try and listen to what the doctors tell you. Although I tell you, do you know how hard it is to find a doctor nowadays?
Yes.
It is a trial and a journey. I literally was in a car accident, needed a doctor, tried to get an appointment, called my service, the medical service that I'm a
Yes.
part of. This is what they said, and I quote it. I am so sorry, but we can't help you. You might just need to go to urgent care. But I can get a doctor for you about an hour and 30 minutes away from you. And that's in a city like LA.
Oh my goodness.
So sometimes, as we're having this conversation, I tell people I don't talk about what I heard. I talk about what I have experienced. It
Mm,
can be very difficult getting help and assistance,
mm,
especially medical help and assistance. I am sorry, but we cannot help you.
mm.
Huh. So I'm 4 days trying to find a doctor? Are you kidding me? But that's where we are right now.
Wow. And, if you really think about that, even for, mental health, which we often talk about,
Thank you.
in many, counties across the US, most of them don't have anyone you can turn to. And that's why actually I am so grateful we have products today like Calm or others that people can use them in those times of need. Now, it's not going to help you if you really hurt yourself there,
Correct.
like your arm, for example, but it
Yeah,
can help you in those moments in your journey, because you just need someone to or something to turn to every once in a while for your own mental health journey.
absolutely. And knowing that you need the help, I'm going to keep saying it, knowing that you need the help is paramount.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Today with young people, there is, and switching to the young people, there's so much pressure on, um, your appearance
Yeah,
and how you look, especially with social media, as we all know today.
that's right.
And you've been asked at times to, kind of to change your look per se.
Mhm.
How did you stay true to yourself?
I love myself. I love the
Mm,
shade that I carry in life. I love my nose. I love the lips that I have, the ones that they made such fun of when I was little. Who know they'd be so in style now in life. Oh my goodness. I love me. I think about had I listened to those kids, what if I had done something to my nose, if I had changed it? What if I had changed my lips? What if I had changed one thing about me and the way that I was born, the gift that I was given to bring to life? Wow, things would be so different. But then again, I didn't have a camera always in my face every day from the time I was born. We
yeah.
now have kids, they know the camera because it has
Mm,
been in their face from the day that they were born. They are constantly looking at themselves. When I was younger, you had kids, you didn't have the choice between there were no black dolls. So you were just falling in love with the little white doll. But that was your
yes.
role model. That's all you saw. Thank God things have changed. Now kids are looking through YouTube, they're looking through TikTok, they're looking through whatever else it is out there, and they're looking at all of these images. And a lot of them want what is not a true image, they want a filter. They
Mm,
want what is not real. They want what is not attainable for them. When you walk into Sephora or Ulta and you see those little 9-year-olds in there trying to get skincare, it's like, baby, go home. Go get yourself a nice basic bar of soap and wash your face.
yes.
Take all that stuff off because you don't need it. But they're not getting those kind of messages that let them know give yourself patience,
Mhm.
give yourself time. Grow into who you will become. Have patience. Give yourself grace.
I speaking about children, and maybe we can shift to children.
I have
Um,
2 and I love them. Oh my god, I adore my children. It's just so crazy.
I love that. What have you learned from your children?
I learned that each child is their own individual self.
Hmm.
At one point, I thought that the school was the school for both of them, but I realized that sometimes that is not the case. The school that was right for my son was absolutely the wrong school for my daughter. And I had to find out, how does one child learn that is different from the other? One, you can set them down in front of their books, in front of the math and all of that. It's no problem. The other one, you can't necessarily do that because they learn by listening. They learned visually. So that was, whoa, that was very interesting to learn all of these things. And sometimes I look back and I said, God, I wish I knew more now then that I know now. But you, as a parent, you have to be open, open, open to finding out more and more about your children and how they learn, how they're going to make their way through life. But you can't hover around them, but you just have to be close enough to watch and observe. Yeah.
I love that. It's so, as a parent myself, it's so hard at times to let go.
Oh my
Uh,
God, but you have to. You
yeah.
know, for me, I'm going to be like that eagle. I'm sitting here on this egg through every up and down. I'm going to hatch you. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to let you know what it's going to take for you to fly because I'm going to push you right out of this nest. Bye bye. Take flight, baby. Oh, you're falling. Let me go catch you. Now, come on. We're going back up, back up, back up. And just know I'm going to drop you soon, too. So I hope you learned how to fly. And there they go.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Have you, it's funny in business too. I often say that while obviously they're not children, you can't be a part of every decision. You also have to trust your team to make decisions, to make and to succeed, and at times to fail and to learn from that. But you
Absolutely.
can't hover. Yeah, it's really hard to hover and be a part of every conversation.
That's why you hire the best people that you can get.
Mm.
You hire the best. I was once shooting a short film, and one of the actresses did not like the wardrobe. She didn't like the wardrobe. And I remember standing outside her dressing room and I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do to get her in these clothes so we can shoot this movie? And literally, something said to me, Sheryl Lee Ralph, if you make this movie and someone says, oh, we hated that costume, you did something very wrong. I shot that movie and no one ever said to me, I didn't like what she wore. I let that woman go right on there with her own clothes and she was just fine. Yeah.
Ah,
Comfortable, delivered the performance, and just fine. Yeah. Sometimes you got to know when to let go and what battles to fight or what battles to leave and run away from. Because what is it? He who fights and runs away learns to fight another day.
yes. Are there any rituals that you have with your kids? And so I'll give you one of mine this year. We're trying to have more conversation. You know, I often find that when we have dinners together, they're so rushed. And so now we try at least twice a week to put away our phones because that seems to be a constant source of distraction,
Yes.
actually for us all, and just to be more present with one another. And it could be 30 minutes, it could be 15 minutes, it could be an hour. Is there some things that you try and do with your own children today to maintain your strong bonds?
We do that. First of all, we talk to each other a lot every day. I work with both of my kids, so we're working and talking together. We also take time as a family to eat together, go somewhere special, even if it's at our own home table, to keep those avenues of communication open, open, open. And we like to travel together. It's nothing for us to all be together, going somewhere together.
So we have three last questions.
Okay, go ahead.
They're not speed questions, but they're just three. I used to say they were speed questions and they were slow. Questions from that. But how can I have a conversation with Sheryl Lee Ralph without mentioning, obviously, Abbott Elementary.
Uh,
It is, it is actually, I wanted to let you know, a show that has brought my wife and my youngest daughter even closer together. That's kind of that's their jam. I come home and they'll be watching it together, and then they'll watch the reruns together, and they'll go back, which
love that.
I just love. Have people come up to you, obviously, and just talked about what that's meant for their own relationships with their kids?
What you just said to me is something that I hear all the time. There's something about the intergenerational appeal of Abbott Elementary that is just golden. People
Yes.
love to watch it with their family. There are people who even Zoom together to watch it on Hulu if they missed it the night before on ABC. And that's why streaming is so important for us in our numbers, because so many people watch the show over and over on Hulu. And it has just been an amazing, wonderful gift. And I'm so happy that Abbott Elementary is shining the light on the importance of education, the importance of educators, and the importance of that making sure that all children are given access to the kind of education they deserve here in these United States.
Note for Hulu, it's why we have Hulu, just so you all know. It's because of Abbott Elementary.
Thank you.
uh, so you are the original dream girl.
Yes.
What dream do you have for young girls today?
Oh my God. I want young women to empower themselves, knowing that they are the most important person in their life. Understanding if you can really handle that, you are going to be intimately involved in every choice that you make in this life. And I hope that you will make the kind of choices that will serve you well. Because life, if you're lucky, is a long thing to live. And I hope and pray that because of who you are, you will have a long and happy life.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that. And lastly, we often talk about how the brain is not a supercomputer.
No, but I will say garbage in, garbage out.
Yes, yes. And you could treat it more like a battery.
Okay.
It needs recharging. It
Yes.
needs rest. And it's really the core of this show and the core of the book around recharge. And how we protect our own energy and rest and ourself, and how we can be our best self
Yes.
every day. And so I love to ask you, how do you recharge?
I'm a good battery.
Mm.
I do nothing. Nothing. I try my blessed best to disconnect. Leave me alone on the weekends in my room, sitting up in my room, watching some good TV, listening some music, discovering songs I haven't heard before, picking up a book and reading the book, thumbing through all of the magazines as they pile up, and then get rid of them to make room for the next thing and have space for more peace in my life. Oh, yeah, take a bath. I love to take a bath. Oh, my goodness, with some nice Epsom salts. I love to turn the steam on in the shower and just sit there. Oh my goodness. The heat is
Oh.
so good for the body, baby. Relax. Do nothing. That's me. Recharge. Yes.
I love that. And I will tell you on a personal note, I recharge by having conversations like this. I've realized that for myself, I need to spend time
Oh,
with quality individuals like yourself. I learned so
oh,
much from these conversations, and I become a better person as well. And so, thank you so
thank
much for taking the
you.
time today. And this was an absolute pleasure to
Thank
be with you.
you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. The recharge and the calm of it all. Yeah.
Oh, and if you haven't read the book, please everyone, grab it and read a copy.
Diva 2.0.
Thank you, Sheryl.
Thank you. Mwah. Become recharge.